Hi, I'm making this video because the numbers of people that are dying is starting to rise, and it has started, it has begun. And so I had originally made a video and it had like a similar photo of Gil Garcetti, and he was basically announcing um, that there was 113, it's probably less now, 113 ICU beds left in a population of 10 million. And so I guess because the picture that I had originally had on that article, it looks similar to another video that I had posted, and YouTube said it was a duplicate video, and it wasn't a duplicate video. It's just like I had a video, and I'm gonna tell you, YouTube. I don't know who is behind YouTube specifically, but I assume that they have their own biases. So I had saw an article about an up and coming candidate who's Republican, and this person was basically saying that the George Floyd incident didn't happen like we saw it. And so when I had recited the article and I basically named the person, somebody must have either seen the article that was for this candidate and rooting for this candidate, or maybe she saw it herself, and or maybe somebody from her team saw it, and so they said that it was that the basically I was reading an article, and they said that the article was how would you say it when you're bullying somebody, and I said bullying is when you troll people, you're you're basically behind every comment that they make, and you say something oppositional and it comes off as like using a use of profanity or threats. That would be more equate to bullying rather than reading an article basically about someone that's basically saying that what everybody saw happened to a man in Minneapolis. I believe that's where it was. That well, if you see someone get killed and you see this pour of support and you see a lot of news feeds about it, and then you see a lot of people that are talking about it, and then this person comes along and says, oh no, that didn't happen, they're not telling you the truth, and it was a hoax or it was made up, you didn't really see the killing that you actually saw. And so basically I was reading an article that somebody was saying that the person needed some type of help because they were pretty much, I guess they were promoting this group. There's a lot of groups out, different groups. They have different positions. Some of them are not all wrapped too tight. That's my way of saying that. AQ9 or whatever, I believe that's the name of the group or whatever. So they were saying, various things in the videos that sounded as though everybody, millions of people that saw what we saw didn't happen, basically. And so YouTube then they put a stop on the video and they wouldn't play the video. And it's because I read something from an article, people. And so this is an article, and this is true. I mean, the numbers of COVID patients are rising, and YouTube didn't want to pretty much put a video I had made last night. The video was basically warning people to take the COVID serious, and I have put multiple videos up like that, and it was informative. It was an informative video, just like much of my other videos. And then some of it is I already had admitted that a lot of my videos are either, if they're not informative, intuition or opinion. It's got a little mix of some of everything. But this one was more informative, and YouTube wouldn't post it because the photo looked the same as another photo that I had from a previous video. So whoever's behind YouTube, they're not really being fair to the people that post videos. especially when they're not bullying anybody. They're basically being informative and they're reading from articles that someone else actually wrote. Um, and and then you're agreeing with it. You're agreeing to disagree, or you're critiquing the articles, or you're making how would you say, educated guesses or opinions. And YouTube is trying to stifle people's freedoms to speak out on issues that are political, and that's unfair. YouTube is not really, whoever's behind YouTube, they're not doing the right thing either. So I just want to forewarn you, anybody that's making videos, that sometimes if you make these videos and if you really are honestly from your heart, you're coming out and you're trying to express something that you read from an article, and it may not even be your writing, it's just something you read from an article. YouTube won't let you express, your opinions in terms of, even if you, like, let's say you're allowing people to express things that we know, we all saw what happened to George Floyd. And for someone to turn around and say, we didn't see that, that's not how it happened, and that's not what really happened, and we know we all saw this, and this person is not going to be brought back with these statements this person was making in her video. They allowed that video to continue to play. So I'm just going to forewarn you that some of these sites, I don't know who's behind them exactly, but they're not allowing everybody, um, within reason, to be able to post the things that are really valid points. Um, I feel very unfair, and I believe, this is what I believe. I believe if you're not, I guess, for the mainstream media, if you don't agree with uh, a uniform assimilation of complicity and trying to follow everyone else's views on politics in terms of Republican or right wing, I feel like it's leaning towards that somewhere somebody who's running YouTube has a problem with it, and they take it really personal, and so they give you these strikes, or they take your video down, or they won't post it, or they'll make like blanketed statements that don't make sense, and you can never get a human voice, and then they reject your appeals, and you even try to convey to them, hey, wait a minute, you're basically saying I'm bullying someone by reading an article. That's not bullying. You're merely reading an article, and you're either making an opinion, which I feel like people should be entitled to make, some kind of critique or opinions within reason, of reality, not insanity. And so, I mean, if I said Martin Luther King was still alive and I saw him and it was a hoax, his shooting, people would be angry with me, and they would think I need my head examined, I'm sure, and they would say, that's not an opinion, you're insane, or something is really clearly wrong with you. You need some medical attention, some help. If he was here, we wouldn't have, some of the people who lived through that experience would be enraged even. They would be looking at me and thinking, hey, I need some real serious medical attention. And that is sort of the same premise. That's what happened when I saw the video. I read the video, and then I made my opinion, and an educated opinion, and YouTube took offense to it. And I believe whoever, I don't know who, somebody else might have took offense to it. And two, I will say this, the person is a Republican, like a staunch Republican. They lean toward the far right, and I believe there might have been politics involved in it. And the campaign, it was like a it wasn't a campaign video, but it was a video of somebody who's running for a campaign, a seat, a political seat. And so it could have been somebody from the person's team that may have saw it, or automatically they're striking videos. And so this one right here, you see that look like nurses and people that are trying to test. I'm not even reading an article, but I'm basically going over what I had going back to where I was. I'm going back to um, the article that I did post yesterday, and the article was basically showing the Los Angeles mayor, I believe, and because our governor is Gavin Newsom, our mayor is Eric Garcetti, and he basically was forewarning people that the hospitals were filling up and that they only had 113. That was as of yesterday or early in the week, 113 ICU beds, and that he was warning people that they needed to still practice the social distancing, wearing the mask. And I know people can easily turn on the news and watch for themselves. And somebody might say, well, shouldn't people watch the news and learn for themselves? People apparently aren't. And so some people don't even really watch the news. They watch social media before they watch the mainstream television, because a lot of times mainstream doesn't say all of the things that social media might be able to convey to a younger generation or people who would be willing to listen. So that's for one of the reasons. And so that's the reason why some people will post videos, because sometimes what you don't see on mainstream, or what you don't get on mainstream, you can get in YouTube, or maybe on some other social site. That's if YouTube or whoever's the developers behind it and the people that are working it, or that are allowing videos to go in and out or whatever, are not using their personal bias to discriminate against what videos get posted and what videos don't get posted. And I've heard people who have had commentary about how they've been treated by YouTube for some of the things that they post. Now, I'm not siding with people. If you post things like you want to beat up people, you want to hurt people, or you want to do some kind of physical damage, those videos, I could see YouTube not wanting to put those up, because we don't want people to feel like they have to live in fear, which we already have enough to worry about as it is. But just for somebody reading an article and, making a sound judgment on the character of the individual's content in their article, and then the person that they might be referring to, just because they happen to be leaning towards the Trump administration, or they're supposedly acting as though that they're going to be a mouthpiece for a black community, doesn't mean that you have to take down videos of people who are oppositional to those individuals, because I feel they've done a lot more harm in the black community than good. I know we have some black commentators who lean far right, or their political stance has done more harm for the black community than good. It has not helped the black. First of all, they don't even live in the communities. They have either, maybe they used to live in the communities, or they never really lived in the communities. They live outside of the communities, and they have distanced themselves from people of their own background or culture. And you have that going on, and that's a big thing. We have like commentators that will say negative things about black people, like painting broad brushes, and a lot of times these groups or these organizations will use them to speak in behalf of the black community, and it makes us look really bad, or it makes us look like we're incompetent, or it actually feeds the stereotypes that are out there, and I think it's wrong. And a lot of the commentators you see too that'll come up, they'll say, oh, things like, oh, the black community needs mental health. They need a lot of help. They have a lot of mental issues. Blah, 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 and all that. And they don't even live in the community. They're not even offering help. They're not really doing anything, or they want you to pay money, a lot of money for their little programs that don't work. The other thing is we know there's a lot of trauma. We, as in people who have lived in these communities or have experienced some of the things that have gone on in the past and up to now, we know, yeah, mental health is only but one portion of what is needed, and that's not a black thing. That's an everybody thing. And so for them to label, oh, that black people need mental health, that's a cop out. We need a lot of things. We need financial help. We need social programs that are going to actually help. And we need social programs that are going to catapult people to be able to be financially independent. We need more educational programs that actually work and don't put us in debt. There's a lot of need. We need society and a government that doesn't work against us. Instead of working against us, work for us, and doesn't discriminate and doesn't use race as a base to decide whether who gets what and who doesn't. And so a lot of people are not really honest and forthright. And so you'll have like a mainstream media and they put people to speak that they feel are safe, that aren't going to really speak out on the real issues that are needed in these communities, because these people are far removed. They don't live in the communities. They don't really care. All they care about is their family and their immediate needs and their self gratification. They only want money. They want you to buy books that reflect their beliefs. They want you to stand behind their statues and their theories and their old, outdated um, traditions. And so these are the type of things that we've seen over and over again, and that's the reason why people are fed up and it's not working. And you have all this illness that is happening right now, and people are not really paying attention because they're hearing it from the same people who have not really told the truth to them in the past. And so that's the reason why, another reason why you have people who don't believe it, because just like in other countries, how they have problems with their government and they have a distrust, it's the same way here in America. There's a lot of distrusting of the government because the government in the past has shown that they have failed certain communities and certain people that are of color. If you read about it in history, these statues, I hear like, that there's some burnings and some things that are happening. That is sad and I don't condone it. But what I'm saying is there's a group of folks that you have failed. And so when you have these statues, even though some people say, oh, you need to keep these statues and preserve them and learn from history, let's say this. Would you like it if people had a statue up that called you belligerent names or that symbolized hate or symbolized how it killed people, multiple people that are of your background, and it just stayed there and people walked past it and they were smiling and acting like it didn't matter because you don't matter, and so that's the reason why it stays there? And that's not learning from history. That is promoting the same bad aura, the same bad karmas, the same bad, which is coming around, and we see that everywhere. The same bad vibes, the same bad government, the same bad people promoting all of their traditions, beliefs to thrive. That's the reason why you have all these people committing acts of racial violence and of hatred because they're angry because they can't see something that symbolizes the beliefs that they stand behind. And so that is a problem. And so for people to feel that that's okay, something must be wrong with that. You know, you've been used or conditioned to feel as though one group is inferior while others are superior, and for somebody to feel that way or to believe that way and be taught that way and accept the Bible that way, to use religion to make people feel as though that they're inferior and that other groups thrive because they're somehow miraculously smarter, or they're more educated, and because their skin is lighter, or because they look like the dominant class supposedly, that that these traditions and these old customs were right, and they weren't. And so there's been a lot of lying, there's been cheating, stealing, and hiding of history, of who the true people that really should have been looked at more as people who were smart, people who invented, people who created, people who tried to re-innovate, people who tried to build cultures, who started cultures, who helped to start humankind and evolve in other cultures. These things are hidden from a large group or numbers of people, and it's been over and over again. And we've been listening to a lot of people lying. We've accepted these lies, and that, I believe, is the reason why there's so much suffering, because is karma coming back to haunt this society, because they have not done the right things. They have let a lot of people down. They have a lot of loss of life. You had a lot of people that died or that were tortured in the name of certain religions. You have people who are not being honest, and they want to believe that these old traditions of hatred is right, and it isn't. And so that is the reason why there's so much suffering. And mainstream media won't say that, and YouTube might. I don't know if they're going to take this video down because I'm saying what I'm saying, and I believe this to be true. But this sickness, all this stuff that's happening, I feel is happening for a number of reasons. For one, they've never told the truth, never given reparations to Black people. They give reparations and treatments to other people that they didn't give Blacks, and Black people have suffered year after year, decade after decade. They've lied, they've cheated. Governments have lied and cheated. You have institutions that have lied and cheated, and you have people that are not telling the truth, and people that want to believe only what they want to believe, only to repeat the same horrors that has happened in the past. Just got new people doing it. And so I've said this time and time again, if you don't do right and if you don't change your course, you're going to continue to see sickness. You're going to continue to see all of these bad things happen because you have not made good on the things that you haven't right the wrongs you have on the things that have happened from the past that are affecting the future, the present, and the future now. And so that's the reason why these sicknesses are happening. You have a lot of people, you have masses of people, and then you have only a few people that are wealthy that hoard their money. You have some people that have so much money they could stop a lot of these issues that we had. People protesting about wages, people protesting about jobs, people protesting about housing. A lot of these issues could be fixed immediately, but people do not want to be honest. You have a lot of greed, you have a lot of hatred, you have a lot of people that are out there that are not being honest, and they're unfair to large groups of people, and they know what they're doing. They know they have a lot of money. They know they could not just donate to charity. They know they could come back to some of the neighborhoods that they grew up in, and they could fix a lot of this stuff right away. But they refuse to do so because they're too busy doing photo ops, wearing clothes and trying to promote clothing so that you can become broker and they become richer. Then you have people, they want you to work, but you're only making kibbles and bits. The other thing they're not telling people is that if you go back out there and you work with all this sickness going on and all this COVID-19, that it's no guarantee that your job is going to give you benefits or work comp, or you have to prove. I saw an article saying you had to prove that you got COVID from your job. How do you prove that you got COVID from your job when it's everywhere? So say like you don't have it, but you go to work and you get it. So how are you supposed to prove that you got it? And if you can't prove that you got it, then the job doesn't have legally, they don't have to furnish you with any assistance, financial assistance to aid you in your having to go to the doctor or having to get tested. Have you seen they're not expressing that some people are getting billed for the tests that they're taking? Some people are getting billed for the hospital treatments that they are getting. You were told in the beginning in the news, in mainstream media, that you would get medicine for free if you were in critical condition. Guess again, that's not always the case. What I've been seeing is some people said that just even taking a test, they've gotten bills in the thousands of dollars. And so they're not telling or talking enough about this. And I'm not happy about any of this, because this right here should not make anybody feel like they got to sit back and listen to this mainstream media bullcrap. And all these people that are not being honest and they're not telling the truth. They're lying. You hear mixed messages. First, you see people with no mask telling you wear a mask. Then you see people saying, oh, only the sick people should wear a mask. Now you hear people saying sick people and people that aren't sick should wear a mask. Then at first you were hearing, oh, if you breathe in out the particles, that if you're within 6 feet, you could catch it. You have to be 6 feet away at social distance. Now you're hearing what I've always suspected, because so many people were getting it, is that it's airborne. And if you're in the right environment, if you're in large crowds and groups and parties and what have you, and you're in places like bars, clubs, churches, what we've seen, that, those air vents are full of germs. They don't always change and replace those air filters. And so it's got germs that people have been breathing for like maybe weeks and months. So if those people are sick, you're breathing that recirculated germy air into your lungs and you're catching COVID. And so this is what they're not talking about. They need to be saying more about this. And the reason why we're having all this burning is because people see that the very places that claim that they're trying to help people have been either they've robbed people, they've taken money out of the communities. And I'm talking about you churches, you've done that. You've robbed people, you've taken money out of communities, you've raped kids. You've raped kids. Kids are raped from some of these churches, some of these religions. And so they're not talking about this. And so this is the kind of stuff that you're going to get, because people have gotten fed up. They know you're not really honest. You've not been telling the truth. You've let a lot of black people down. You let a lot of Latino people down. You won't feed people. You just give them a little bit of money with these government programs. You waft it in their face, and then you snatch it away. You threaten to snatch it away. And then let me be honest here. The president has said that he was going to help in educational programs for Latino people. Now, why would you do this? And a couple of weeks ago, or not even a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about building a wall. You were talking about taking the DACA program away for people. Now you're backpedaling on the very things that you were promoting. That's what your base is to promote more detention centers and putting people in camps, things like that, and then moving people out of the country and things like that. That's what you started off saying, and then you were calling people rapists, and now you're saying something different. You know why he's doing this? Because he wants you to vote for him so he can be there another 4 years and destroy this country. And so that's what's going on at YouTube. If you don't like what I'm saying, then there's something wrong with you, because you don't want to receive the truth. This is the truth. And it is. I don't care what anybody says, this is the truth. A lot of people, you've let a lot of people down in this country. These people that are running this, call themselves running this government, have destroyed a lot of people. They have made choices that are affecting all of us right now. And they like to always show, every time somebody does something wrong or something that they think is not wrong, they don't have a problem showing black faces up there. Because right now, what's happening in this country? They have a lot of racism going on. So they don't have a problem showing Black people in this country that are, if you got a couple of people that got mental illness, or maybe they've taken the dark path, as I say. Maybe they're involved in street gangs, or they've done something wrong, or they're feeling desperate, so they get involved in some kind of homicide or some kind of thievery, and that's everywhere. It's not a black thing. It's a thing where you have, everywhere you go, there's going to be crime of some sort somewhere, and different people doing it from all walks of life. There have been shootings, there have been killings of people simply because they're black or they're Hispanic or Latino, and you don't want people protesting and talking about it. That's the reason why you get mad. You don't want people posting videos when they start telling the truth, and you try to find fault in those individuals, and then you try to post up all the things you can find, dig up all the stuff, the dirt you can find about somebody, so you can discredit them and make them look bad because you want to move away and navigate away from what's really going on. And so you people that, if you see this video, you see all these testing centers and stuff, they're saying that the testing centers are actually becoming a thing where they're getting congested, that people are waiting weeks for their results. Look at this. Coronavirus deaths take a long expected turn for the worst. This is a New York Associated Press, a long unexpected um, upturn of the U.S. coronavirus deaths has begun, driven by fatalities in the states south and the west, according to the data of the pandemic. So I've had this photo so you can see this is what's happening all over the country, and they're not talking about it enough. They posted some things up on mainstream media. That's probably only because they might know that a video like mine, or somebody that sees the same thing going on, they know something's funny. Now, just yesterday or day before, I went to the downtown of Los Angeles. Downtown Los Angeles is always bustling, even on the weekends. During the weekdays, there's more people walking around all over the place. It looked like, I kid you not, it looked like a ghost town. When I see that, I know something is really happening. Some shit is going down. Anytime you see the courthouse, Hill Street, you see Parker Center, everything is quiet, and it looks like you could virtually just walk around there and drop a pin, and you can hear the pin drop. And because it's a ghost town, you know something's going on. And so they're not talking. More people are filling up those hospitals and dying. And I know I saw this picture where it looked like a FEMA camp. I'm not lying to you. I'm telling you the truth. That picture showed on one of the articles that I had pulled up, and then it was gone. And so it basically showed like what looked like a warehouse. It had beds. It had these little plastic trunks. You know, the things that, the little storage containers that you get from Target and stuff like that. And they had a couple of it had pallets, blankets, and each one was spread out just for somebody that is going to be homeless. They are waiting for the evictions and the homelessness to begin on top of the sickness. We have multiple crises going on, and they have not said enough in mainstream media about this. And so I'm just warning you guys. You guys need to really take a look at what's going on. So scientists warned that it wouldn't last. Okay, because they said the numbers, they had been telling people that the numbers of deaths had been dropping, and that, see, they try to fan the flames to try to make it look like things are okay and we can go back to our lives like normal, but don't believe all of that. So experts, some of this, they put a little bit of truth out and then they snatch it back, and so you have to read between the lines. There's a lot of sickness going on, and we're not seeing those hospitals. They're filled up to capacity. And I saw one of the physicians, the doctor was saying, we're at the point where we might have to make decisions on who gets care and who doesn't. And you know what that means? That's what happened in Italy, where some people didn't get care and they had to die. And so this is a state of emergency, and I don't know why they're not talking about this. And so it's consistently picking up, and it's picking up at a time that you'd expect it to, said William Hanich, a Harvard University infectious disaster a disaster. That's what I call a disease researcher. It's a disaster. It is. So, according to an Associated Press analysis, the data from Johns Hopkins University, a 7-day rolling average, the daily reported deaths in the U.S. has increased to 578 2 weeks ago, and 600. It jumps to 664 on July 10th. So still well below the heights hit in April, but the daily reported deaths increased in 27 states over the time period. But the majority of those states are averaging at 15 new deaths per day. That's no joke, guys. 15 new deaths per day? Come on, it's actually a lot larger than that. They're not really saying because they're trying to keep the hysteria down, but it's more than 15 deaths per day. And so the news is only allowed probably to say so much because they don't want people to start panicking and start hoarding food and going and running to the stores and buying up a whole bunch of tissue like they were last time, which tissue is not going to help save your life. I'll just be honest. It might help for a while for you to stay in the home and not have to go to the store for a while for some tissue, but other than that, that's not going to help save you from this disease. Um, I just feel like, and we know hand sanitizer is not going to help. That's just a precaution, an extra added precaution that you can use if you're in a situation where you can't wash your hands. So that's why you use, or it can help, you could layer your hands after you wash your hands with a hand sanitizer. But when you're out in public, but we've heard all those stories that some of this hand sanitizer is dangerous. It blows up, explodes in your car, and all these things like that. And so people got to be careful. So this is what we're seeing. These are the testing centers that are starting to get, filled up, backed up with cars. And, for weeks on end, people have to wait for the results. And it's starting to get really crazy, guys. And so you guys need to understand that this is serious. Some people think that this is a joke. You know what's a joke? This whole thing of when they started and they were making it look like it wasn't that serious. That's what the joke is. It was that they were joking with us. They should have been more serious. They, as in the Trump administration, they started off downplaying the virus. There were people that were gradually leading up to the seriousness of this virus, and that's why you have so many deaths, so many people that are sick. This is what we're seeing. We're back. They're even talking about opening up schools. Do you think they should open up schools with all this going on? Heck no. Heck no. These are adults, are the teachers of the kids. If they're having to get tested and you have all these people that are sick, you want sick people teaching your kids? First of all, they're not going to even be able to teach your kids because they're going to be too busy taking medicine or in the hospital. They're not even going to be able to work. And so, I'll be honest with you, they opened up things too soon. We had a group of people who all they were concerned about is the economy and money. And yeah, that should be a concern. But what should be more number one concern is people's lives and health. And that's what they weren't concerned about. That's the reason why we're in the predicament we're in now, because you want to preserve statues that you claim that are historical. Put those in a museum then. Study them that way. But don't parade them around in public. Ha ha ha, look what we did to your people. How we killed and slaughtered them. How we stole their culture and their language. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Every day you walk past this statue, it makes me look like I'm you're inferior and I'm superior over your race of people. So that's what we see every year, every day, every week, every month, every year, every decade, and people are fed up with this stuff. You guys are lying. You're not telling the truth, and you know who you are. You're hoarding money, probably putting it in offshore accounts. You're putting it in safe lock boxes. You're sitting back laughing while people are suffering. You got vacation homes, you got bunkers, you're hiding out. You know how your family's going to live and how you're going to live, but you don't care about all these other people. All you care about is yourself. And you know what? If you have this many people sick, what goes around comes around. It's going to happen to you because you let this stuff get far out of control. And so that's the end of this video. I'm not happy about what's going on because it's not fair. It's misleading. What they've been doing to people, they haven't been honest. They haven't been forthright. They've been telling people things that aren't true. And so people are dying behind the lies that people have been putting out, and it's not fair. So I'm switching it back to this video, but this is what we're seeing happen all around us. All this sickness and all these people that are dying of this disease because people have not been honest. This is what's happening right now around the world, and they're not talking enough about it. And so a lot more people are going to die if they haven't already. Some people have gotten sick and don't even know they're sick. And this is what we're experiencing. And it's shame on you. Shame on you, social medias, the mainstream media, and the government for not being honest and downplaying this virus. And all these people are sick. And now you're talking about fixing things that you should have fixed maybe years ago. Then they won't even cancel student. You know what they really need to cancel is the student loan debt. Student loan debt needs to be canceled. How are people going to pay for student loan debt when you have all these people sick and they can't even go to work? All these people have lost their jobs. Did you hear what happened to some of the more recent job losses and furloughs? There are some jobs that were good paying jobs that people were furloughed recently, like by the hundreds. And so now those people had to go. You know why? Let me tell you why they not only telling you this, but they furloughed because some of those businesses are not able to function anymore. They have lost out a lot of money because the reason why they can't function because you have a lot of sick people who can't make the economy move. That's why. And so they're not talking enough about this. And shame on you, you all people who want to keep this lie going. Shame on you. This is the result of what you've done by not telling the truth and by putting people in a vulnerable position and not being honest and forthright. And you see that the people who are poor, the people who don't have a lot, the people who are people of color, the people who you've basically marginalized are hit the hardest, but it's going to come around to you. Because you know why? You can't make this government work because you need us. As much as you make it look like we need you need us more than we need you. You need us because we do the jobs that you don't want to do. Because you want to sit around and buy your fancy clothes, and eat your fancy food, and drink your fancy wine, and go to your fancy trips, and talk your fancy talk, and all this kind of stuff, and lie to people every day. You need us. Because if we don't do these jobs, then you don't do what you do. Lie and steal money from people and hoard your riches and be the greedy hound that you are. And that is what you do. And we are out there slaving and working and doing the same things, only it's just a different group of people doing it. We're doing the same thing that had happened before. And then you make these laws, and then you want to take us and put us in jail for years and years and years for speaking out, or exile us, or kill us, or put us under surveillance. And you know that this stuff was coming. You know that your days were numbered, that your whatever, like they say in history, you know, all of those different societies, they fell. And so this is your fall right here. You're going down in flames. You need to fix all the wrongs that you created, even if your forefathers created it. Don't sit back and be complicit because it's just like somebody saying, oh, well, I'm not the one that put you in chains, but you're sitting there benefiting from people that have put people in chains and that have made people's lives miserable and living hell. And it's still going on to this day. And so if you don't like what I'm saying, then turn the channel, turn it off, or go to another video that plays Disneyland stuff that isn't real. But this is real. And so this right here is a result of people not telling the truth and hiding the facts and not being honest. And so I'm tired of it. And I know a lot of other people are tired of it. And I have a right to express my opinions as long as I'm not hurting anybody. It's the truth. And the truth, sometimes it hurts, doesn't it? Thanks for listening.